Hello everyone and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the various miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And it's another one of those ones where it's a very eclectic mix of models. So we have a fair chunk of lantern themed miniatures for the DC Universe miniature game by Night Models. We have a little bit of Age of Sigmar / Warcry. We have Bloodbow represented by a single miniature. There's going to be an embarrassing story to be told about that one. A chunk from Dead by Daylight, the board game, and almost a whole new team for Rumblesland. There's two missing from it. I've forgotten offhand what the team is called, but they've got a mushroom theme going, an infection theme going actually, but we can talk about that when we get to it. So let's start with the big boss man himself, Sinestro of the Sinestro Corps, or Yellow Lanterns if you prefer. An old sculpt that I picked up because it was getting sold off cheap, and I had to make it match the existing Yellow Lanterns that I'd already painted a long time ago. So that kind of limited the colours I would use. I would have probably used different ones at this point to maybe look a little bit better, but I had to make the match up because that mattered more to me. So Yandan Yellow is the main colour used here. Where on earth did a bit of, what is that? Is that paint? I don't know where that came from, but it was stuck to my finger, now it's gone. There we go. For his skin I used Magus Purple contrast, and for the base it's simply Basilicanum Grey, a dry brushing of Ulthwyn Grey, and some Striking Scorpion for the Green Lantern rings that are adorning his base. He actually does come off the base. I didn't glue him on in terms of like the big base, so you can use him as a smaller one if you wanted. But he is meant to look all dramatic and big based, as that's just the angle that Night Models decided to go to. Even if, like we saw 2 videos ago now, the new Hal Jordan, or well, the newer version of Hal Jordan that exists, who is also like, he's tiny in the middle of an absolutely ridiculously huge base. But they're the bosses, or you know, they're the key characters, let's say. They're not actually the bosses of their various cores, so that's why they get the big base to show themselves off. And for a long time I wanted to do a Green Lantern versus Yellow Lantern core themed video. Now I've got plans of having it like be a 3-way battle with the Red Lanterns as well. I don't know if I'll ever do it. It would probably have to be split across a couple of videos. It'd be an absolutely huge battle report. I really do want to do it though at some point. It might be a fun way to just bring the DC Universe game back for like a one-off, or you know, a one-off 2-part event, let's say. So that is the Yellow Lantern Corps done, in terms of that's every miniature they got given now completely painted up. So the Red Lanterns, the newer releases for them that I didn't pick up when I picked up the box of like the squad, as it were, covered them a long time ago. We have Supergirl, who did become a Red Lantern at one point. We have the Red Lantern version of Guy Gardner, who is also available, oops, as he almost falls over, as a Green Lantern variant in the Green Lantern box. And we have the new version, of course, on a big base, although in his case it fits. We have Atrocitus, who had an old metal model for the same game, but they updated him when they did these new Red Lantern releases. So we'll start with Guy Gardner. He's in a pretty dynamic pose, and again, I wanted these to match up, but luckily the Red Lantern's released fairly recently, so colours are basically the same. Bal Red is the key one for them, with a little bit of the newer red wash, which is called Crimson something, and Null Oil on the same red for the base to make the blood look a little bit thicker. Skeletal Horde for the skulls, and that is Black Legion for the black parts of their super suits, whatever they are. I didn't have a fun time cleaning these up. Like if you saw the unboxing of these, it was Guy Gardner's leg in particular was the one I pointed out as being just in a horrible state of needing a lot of work. In general, it has also been a while since I've had to work with models so small. Like these older sculpts, they don't even really exist for the Batman game that Night Models do anymore, because they've kind of gone Crisis Protocol scale now. So working with these old ones, I was reminded, oh yeah, my skills aren't really up to snuff when it comes to models this small. But hey, I tried my best. Supergirl, I'll be honest, I haven't read the story where she becomes a Red Lantern. I don't know why she does, but I know that part of her story is involving like emotional control and stuff, so it's probably to do with something like that. I am kind of happy with the eyes I managed to get on, like she's wearing a domino mask type thing, but I did manage to kind of pick out 2 eyes. The lips I didn't do such a great job with, but I was happy enough with the eyes. Fun pose as well. and she's pretty strong on the table because she's got her Kryptonian powers obviously, but she's also got the Red Lantern powers. The one that turned out the best, but he's a big canvas so it was easier, was definitely Atrocitus, although the big base, I used a little bit of green stuff to add more so you couldn't see cobblestone under the sea of blood he's standing on and his throne of skulls, or pile of skulls. But he himself I think turned out nice. It's exact same colours but just with a nicer area to work with, a more detailed sculpt and lots of nice muscle lines to put the dark red wash in. I'm very happy with how he turned out, and hopefully you can just about make out his face. It's a little bit of Thanos and a little bit of a Gene Stealer from 40k. It's kind of like halfway between those two things, but I really like this miniature. It's imposing, it's fun, and the Red Lanterns, their whole gimmick in terms of like gameplay mechanics is they don't start that strong, but the closer to death they are, they have no chance of falling unconscious, I think, from memory, and they just keep getting stronger. More power to spend on abilities, and just their basic strength goes up. And I just like this model. It's a nice display piece. But hopefully, I say hopefully, one day I will do just a huge Lantern War video. I think it'd be really cool. It'd be a big endeavour. I'm going to have to work up to it, but I really, really do want to do it now. I even thought of like, how do I include the one blue lantern model that exists? How do I include the one orange lantern model that exists? They're probably never going to do the sapphire one, so whatever. But I don't know. I hope it happens one day. I really hope it does because I have fun ideas for it. So let's pull back a little bit and we'll move on to just quickly covering two Prators for being used for Warcry but also Age of Sigmar. Painted one a little while back. This was to try and get the warbands up to snuff and make them actual legal lists. Still not quite there technically. A stand-in was required if you've seen that video. But two more of the Prators. These are all from the... which box were they from? Harbinger. The Harbinger starter set. If I found the box behind me. Harbinger starter set that comes with a bunch of these. I think it's 3 Prators, the Lord Impertinent, his Griffhound, and I want to say maybe 4 like basic Stormcast guys, like the more human guys. I don't remember what they're called offhand, but either way I did cover all those. So I mean, I've covered what colours I use for Stormcast Eternals before, but essentially it's just Nazdrag yellow with a dry brushing of Necron compound or whatever that texture paint is called, Celestium blue for the cape, and I think that's Blood Angel red for the tassels, and Flesh Terror red for the staff or whatever part that is of the axe. And Skeletal Horde for the flag on top of it. He's having a lot of problems staying in focus. He's in one of those awkward poses that just drives the camera mad, but hopefully you can see that there. Interior of the cape is just the grey seer base coat, which again used for everything, with non-oil over the top. And AK texture paint, the concrete stuff that's just a putty for you to mould and then put whatever colour you want over it. That's rattling grime over it to give a mud type effect. And here is the other one. Nicer pose. I chose to go without the helmet for this one just to vary it up a little bit. But the exact same colours used, also Lead Belcher Silver, forgot to mention that. But exact same colours. I kind of like how his cape turned out a bit better. It's a shame that it's got such an obvious like push fit line there, and I'm no good at disguising those, but I like how his cape turned out, whereas like for that one and the one I did back in the past, I didn't like how the capes turned out. Like the colour isn't quite up to snuff for doing what I wanted it to do, but they are both done, and that means almost a legal list can be fielded for the Thunderstrike Stormcast. Now we've got to move on to the embarrassing story. Why is there a single, I think this is just a lineman for the Bogenhafen Barons here from Blood Bowl, you might be asking, because enough of them are done that we can do Blood Bowl 7s, so why is there this extra guy here? When I was building what I needed to field the Bogenhafen Barons for Blood Bowl 7s, I got confused with the assembly instructions I was following, and I accidentally did the alternative, or the second one of this sculpt you get in the box, which I think is a lineman. But what I actually needed was a blitzer or something similar, and I thought this was, or a bodyguard, I don't remember. But whichever specialist unit it was, I thought this was it. I fully assembled it, looked at it and was like, hang on, this isn't the right player. So I've had this sitting as a reminder that I assembled the wrong miniature. The one that I actually needed, long since assembled, painted, it's been in this series. It's been in Blood Bowl 7s. But I had this one sitting, so just one day when I was sitting and I was waiting for some stuff to dry that base coat, I was looking at it, staring at me, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to paint the thing. So I did, and exactly the same colours as the other one I'd done. I have yet to give him a number on his back though, because I've kind of forgotten which ones I've used, so I'm going to need to go look it up, plan ahead, and I might wait until I do eventually get around to painting the rest of the box. But I have no immediate plans. I do plan to bring Bloodbow 7s back to the channel in terms of a viewer verdict, see how people feel about that, but in terms of like a full length, full scale Bloodbow match, it is so much to keep track of that it's too easy to make mistakes, and it's also too long, I feel. You're looking at an hour and a half minimum, so I'm not sure that would be an ideal fit. I think 7s is a better fit, but we'll see. I'm not saying I'll never play full scale Blood Bowl again because I like it, but the practicalities of it for video making is just, it's a little off. So let's move on to what I've been painting for the Dead by Daylight board game. I'm actually quite surprised at the reception I got, so thank you for that. We have 2 more killers that I painted up, one of which I believe you will have seen. Actually, you might have seen both by now. You've definitely seen the Trapper before this goes live, but the Wraith one, maybe not. And you've definitely seen the other 2 survivors because I painted them up and got them in the series. They were both almost ready by the time I did the last one. So this is Nia, this is Ace Visconti, my favourite biscuit, the Trapper, and the Wraith. So in terms of colours, I did their bases exactly the same as Jake, Park and Dwight that I talked about last time, along with the Doctor. So I won't really need to cover that. But this is Militarum Green for her shirt, and just Space Wolves Grey for her jeans, the literal best possible colour that exists for doing just basic denim jeans in my opinion. Guilliman Flesh for flesh tones, and Agrax Earthshade over everything because they're in a grimy nightmare world. She always struck me as like the drug addict one. I don't know if that's her actual backstory or not, but that's my headcanon backstory, and back when we played Dead by Daylight, the video game, I very much enjoyed inventing backstories for the characters rather than going by their actual lore. Ace Visconti, he's doing the finger guns. I love the pose. Not exactly the situation you would want to be doing it in, but Skeletal Horde for his jacket. Again, the jeans and the jean shirt, exact same colour. The cap, I think, was Ultramarines blue. And again, Agrath's Earthshade over everything. He's fun, and he now has a lore for just my video series where he enjoys hiding in lockers. You know, such as you do. If you're hiding, I guess you could do worse. So for the Trapper, I mentioned this in the video where it was used. I got contradicting source material when I was looking for like what colour is his overalls by default. Is it navy blue? Is it bluish green? Is it greenish blue? And like there's an official toy of him and it's green, but then I would look at a screenshot from the video game and be like, that really looks blue to me. So I don't really know. I decided just to use Militarum Green because for the overall colours, I felt like if it was darkish blue, it would look too much like Michael Myers, kind of, like the overalls he wears. So I thought, you know what, fine, I've already painted someone who looks like Michael Myers for Don't Look Back. So, you know, I'll just go with Militarum Green. It's going to be blood splattered and horrible and dirty anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I really like these models, by the way. They take to contrast paint really well. So, very nice. Militarum Green, Guilliman Flesh, Agrath's Earthshade, Blood for the Blood God, and the bases I have already covered. Do excuse the dog crying in the background every so often. She pretends that she wants all my attention only when I'm doing these videos. And yet, 6 years old now and doesn't bring the toy to where I am. She puts it somewhere where I can't reach it and then goes to the other end of the room. She's currently at my door and just cries at me like, why aren't you throwing the thing? Why aren't you throwing the thing now? I sort of brought you the thing. Anyway, Wraith. For him, this is going to be another one of those poses, I think. There we go. Oh, she heard something that distracted her. She might bark. Basilicanum Grey for like whatever, like some kind of weird mask and poncho. I'm not 100% sure. He cloaks, so you don't really see him half the time. Skeletal Horde for his bandages where his pants should be. Snakebite Leather for his pouches and belt. And Leadbelcher Silver, Blood for the Blood God, all the good stuff. Another fun model, my favourite killer to play back in the day in Dead by Daylight. We created a whole story for him. We called him Bing Bong, or the Catchphrase Killer, because, kind of in a reference to Overwatch, anytime I decloaked behind someone who didn't know I was there, I'd whisper catchphrase and then scare them and hit them, and they'd poop themselves, so to speak. So, very fond memories of playing Bing Bong back in the early days of Dead by Daylight. When there was no perks or anything in private games, so you just play with friends and just scare each other. It was great fun. So last but not least, I think these are called Madap Mayhem or something. It is a team for RumbleSlam, which is themed around mushroom monsters and also orcs and goblins that have been infected by mushrooms, kind of like the Last of Us style, I guess. Like, they're no longer in control of their bodies, it's the mushrooms doing everything. So they've got a large lad in the form of a mushroom monster. I've painted up the 2 goblins that are mushroom infected. I didn't really do a good job with these, they're too small and finicky. And then I do really like this guy, we'll cover him last. That's an orc that has been turned into a mushroom that's like got his punching fists up. So this is their large lad. There's still 2 more, no actually you know what, there isn't 2 more to paint, there is 1 more to paint for this crew. And it's kind of like, it's an orc that's dealing in mushrooms. He's like pulling open his long brown coat being like, hey, what you buying? It's pretty fun. I'm looking forward to painting that one, I hope it turns out well. But in terms of this guy, this was super easy because it's mostly just the base coat, with a little bit of Bal red across all of them for the mushroom caps, with spots, Luxium purple for the mushrooms, a little bit of Wildwood for the parts of his feet that are closer to the ground, and that's really it. Like, he's pretty imposing, he is a big, large lad. I have no idea what his powers are, I haven't really looked at the stat cards for these yet, but hopefully these will be the team that you see next when RumbleSlam makes its next appearance. He's got a little mushroom growing out of his finger as well. Great miniature, I like that one a lot. Then we've got this little guy, he's kind of like running forwards to headbutt people. It's going to be a nightmare trying to get this in focus, but he's wearing a helmet and pauldrons that are made of metal, but he has like madcap, or what they called, the special like cap type mushrooms. I've forgotten the word offhand. He's got a bunch of those growing out of them. It's probably going to be impossible for me to get an angle on this with how he is, but he's in a running headbutt stance, so it isn't exactly ideal. But not Militarum green, sorry, the Mantis Warrior green is the skin tone I use for all of them. I have painted goblins in a different green in the past. I wasn't really happy with how it looked. I think I used Warp Lightning. So I decided, hey, they're infected by mushrooms, they're allowed to be a little bit different. I'll make them look like the grass by using that colour. This guy, he's on some kind of magic mushrooms, because like in the official paint job, he is turning blue. Like, the top half of him is glowing blue. He's got blue mushrooms, or whatever they are, spores, coming out of him, so I tried to replicate that as best I can. I didn't find this one fun to paint at all, just because with him being so small and having all these weird parts, the resin was not fun to work with in this instance, sadly. But, you know, that was my problem. Also, he was attached by this up here, which is kind of wrecked the upper cap. It's not the right shape, it's not, like, it doesn't look that great. Like, look how, like, that's not nice. But he was the only one like that. The rest of them were attached as they all should be by their feet, which makes them easier to paint, and then once you're done, snip them off, put them on these clear bases. But that was one of the rare instances where it didn't really work just because of how he was connected. And then lastly, my favourite thing I've painted this week, well, that's probably Atrocitus actually, but the orc that's lost his mind and become a mushroom that's putting up like his little fighting hands is just such a crazy theme, and is just absolutely wonderful. Same colours again, don't really have anything to talk about that. I just want to show this model. Like, the model itself is just wonderfully fun. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to see these in the ring relatively soon. Just got to get one more painted up. Yeah, so that probably means at some point next week you'll see RumbleSlam, from when this goes live, that is. But yeah, this is probably my favourite model in the set, just because it's got so much character. The one that I haven't done yet that's like acting like he's dealing drugs, but it's mushrooms, that's a close second. Then I would say the large mushroom monster is behind that. But all in all, very fun miniature. Great themed team as well. Don't know if they're overpowered, don't know if they're underpowered. We'll just have to wait until we see them on the ring, or in the ring rather, to see that. And that is going to be it for another week. I feel like I didn't blather that much this time. I've just been kind of getting on with things. Speaking of, there is going to be the final member of that team done for the next video. Beyond that, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to focus on. There is another warband for Warcry I want to do. I think it's 10 miniatures wide. I'm not sure if I'll get started on that, because once I get started I'll kind of want to just, you know, get on with it. So there won't be any Bloodbow. I'm almost certain of that. I think I can almost promise you that, and if I randomly decide, oh, you know what, maybe I should like just paint some Bloodbow, it'll just be to spite my past self without realising it. I don't think there will be any. There will probably be Warcry in some fashion or another. I've ran out of DC Universe stuff now. That's it all painted, I believe. I might be forgetting something, but there is some Batman stuff I might get started on, even though I can't really play the game at the moment, but might be in the mood to just get something painted up, because I wanted to make sure I was ready for the new stuff I purchased. But either way, I'll probably paint up some more killers for Dead by Daylight. I'm enjoying playing the game, and as I say, the reaction to it has actually been surprisingly good, so it would give me an excuse to paint up someone else. So with that, if you want to show me what you've been painting, you can do so via my Discord if you want to join that, or Blue Sky. I am Real Flick on Blue Sky. If you need an invite to the Discord, or to get a link to my Blue Sky, stop by on Twitch when I'm streaming sometime. Me or a moderator will happily provide the links for you. Just keep in mind those are not child safe. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this inspired you to get through your pile of grey shame. If you haven't done already, please do consider checking out my channel sponsor, from whom I buy many a great miniature from, and they ship worldwide. I've never had to pay any extra tax or anything on anything I've got from them. They've been great. And if you use the affiliate link to do so, I will be compensated, which would be very nice. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, get painting, and I'll see you in roughly 2 weeks for another update. Until then, ta for now.